Good afternoon. Today I will be talking on a contemporary strategic issue, that is role of data analytics in formulating competitive supply chain, that is SC strategy. As we all know, over the years, the organizations have witnessed a tremendous change at the marketplace. Change in the form of product obsolescence within a shorter period of time, ever-changing customer needs, preferences, stiff competition across the global marketplace. So those constraints have imposed greater challenge on the organizations. On one hand, the organizations need to consolidate their resources, optimize their cost across the entire business activities. On the other hand, they have to be more closer to the customer needs, even sometimes predict beyond the time. So, and on the other hand, they have to cope up with the changes that have been taken place in the area of technology development. So, the competitions are no longer valid amongst the organizations. Rather, the competitions are now among the supply chains that are managed by the organizations. The organization which can manage its supply chain very efficiently, at the same time very effectively, they can have an edge over its competitors. Now coming back to the topic, role of data analytics in formulating competitive supply chain strategy. Now question is, why this topic is so relevant in the context of modern business operations? Before I answer, let us now have a look on the conventional supply chain structure. Now, the conventional supply chain structure, as it looks like, there are certain suppliers, then manufacturer, then the distributors or wholesalers, then retailers, then customers. This is something, the broad structure of conventional supply chain. Now, across this supply chain, there are three important aspects or three important parameters that one should look upon. One is the flow of physical goods, second is the flow of information, and the third thing is the flow of fund. The flow of information flows bidirectionally. Eventually the demand gets initiated at customer end, gradually it goes towards upstream to the supplier part, then the flow of product is from the supplier part to the end customer part, and the entire chain is being operated on the basis of information, and the fund is flowing from that downstream part to the upstream part. Now the question is, in order to manage this supply chain, the role of information with the development in the area of information technology is very crucial. Nowadays, the needs of the customers are very, very dynamic. In the sense, the customers can give opinions. The customers can make remarks on a particular product performance. Even at times, the customers want to see that what is the next product waiting for them before they apprehend there is such need. So, and at the same time, earlier the entire flow is being managed traditionally by monitoring the performance, by getting the information from the channel members, then working upon those informations, then decide upon which would be the possible strategy in order to optimize the performance of the supply chain. Now the question is, what is the problem in managing that? Now, as I said, as the customers are now more and more demanding, as the technology has helped us in understanding the next generation need, so these tasks have become more complex in nature. You cannot manage your supply chain traditionally by monitoring, by analyzing the performance, unless and until you have extreme integration among the channel partners. Now, with the help of information technology, thanks to some of the recent developments that have been taken place in the area of information technology, some of the network sensors like RFID, GPS, Internet of Things, all with help of all these technologies, there are the availability of humongous amount of data. Now the competitive strategy nowadays is one which can manage the data efficiently and effectively. It is more or less some sort of informed strategic decision. So the supply chain has become a bit smarter in the sense. Now, in order to analyze this smarter supply chain, let us now have a close look on the evolution of the supply chain, the focus area of the supply chain. Before I move to the details of the role of smart supply chain in formulating today's competitive strategy for the organizations, let us now have a quick look on the evolution of the supply chain. This is the conventional supply chain structure. As I said, it starts from the ultimate supplier, that is supplier of the suppliers. Then it goes to the manufacturers. Here the operation is mainly confined to inbound logistic material flow. Then at the point of manufacturing, the raw material is being converted into a finished product. Then it goes to the distributor part. Then it goes to retailer and then customer. Some of the organizations opt for 3PL, that is a third party logistics service provider, because in order to optimize their performances, sometimes the organizations need to focus on their core competencies. Now, for that reasons, the organizations outsource this entire logistic management part, the flow management part, to some 3PL, the third party logistic service providers. Now, as the inbound logistic is from ultimate supplier to the manufacturer, and then finished good is being served to the customers through an outbound logistic operations, passing through the stages like distributor, retailers and customers. The flow of information predominantly flows from customer end to the supplier end. The goods predominantly flows from supplier end to the customer end, and in between the fund is getting flowed. If we look at the change in focus area for the strategists of supply chain management, earlier traditionally it used to be a responsive supply chain. Means whatever is required by the market, we need to make it, or in anticipation of the demand, we need to formulate our strategy and then we make to stock and then provide the products to the customers. Now the approach was followed more or less reactive in nature. Whatever strategy is formed, after getting market information, then we formulate the strategy, supplies the product to the customers. It was a kind of responsive one. Then as the need changed a lot, as the dimension of the competition changed, it was changed to agile part. The supply chain became agile. Agile means it became quickly responsive to changing needs of the customers. The entire operation was integrated. They are reinforcing each other. They quickly respond to the changes, and at the same time they provide the required value proposition within a short span of time. Then the question came, if we are providing product to the customers, then are we adapt the new practices? Are we adapt to our strategy? Are we adaptive to the changes of the customers, changes of the marketplace, changes of the technology? Then the question comes adaptive supply chain. Then it was become a comprehensive supply chain strategy, aligned supply chain strategy. I intentionally left this place blank because here I will be discussing on the intelligent supply chain or the smart supply chain. So that is the topic, or that is the competitive strategy for supply chain today. Before I discuss about so-called intelligent supply chain, let us now have a look on the sub-processes that are carried out across the supply chain. There are few sub-processes like customer relationship management, where you get into the requirements of the customer, where you understand the customer requirement, where you maintain a relationship with the customer. Then customer service management, how do you provide the product to the customer? The way you provide the product to the customer, the way you reach to the customer, the way you understand the need of the customer, the way you greet the customer. Then demand management, how do you manage the demand? How do you predict the demand? How do you understand what is the requirement? Then order fulfillment, how quickly and conveniently you can supply the product to the customer. Then manufacturing flow management, how your manufacturing processes are being managed to its fullest capability, so that at the same time it can fulfill the need of mass customization, at the same time it can meet the need of the customers. Then supplier relationship management, now in order to be quickly responsive, in order to be aligned with the market need as well as business need, one has to follow a 360-degree complete approach. One of the requirements of the approach is that your supplier. You cannot have your operations smooth. You cannot implement new design changes. You cannot introduce new product. You cannot cater into the new market unless and until you have a close tie-up with your core suppliers. Earlier, the concept was a linear relationship with multiple sources of supplier. Gradually, the concept was changed. Now, the concept says that you have to be connected with a wave of suppliers, wherein as and when required, you can be connected with the supplier. So, supplier is playing a very critical role. Then, one of the major aspects of such thing is product development. Today, the products are having small lead time, very tiny lead time. Gradually it goes to the maturity level, but it has a so short lead time. You have to be very agile on that. You have to be very careful on that to introduce new technology, to introduce new product based on the market need. Then another important thing, because today we are thinking of zero defect, zero effect. So environmental friendliness is one of the key aspects of any of your strategy. In order to get a sustainable business, you need to make a balance between people, planet and profit. So returns management or closed loop supply chain operations are nowadays a very critical supply chain strategies that one must take care of. Now coming back to the smart supply chain structure. Smart supply chain is one across which the operations are connected. Each and every operations are connected through a flow of informations. Like earlier days, the supply chain was being operated mostly predominantly by the human beings. Nowadays, the three important aspects of next generation supply chains are: first, human-machine interaction. The data is being generated by the machines. It is being tracked by the network sensors like RFID, GPS. The days will come when people need not to generate information, people need not to log into the system and need not to enter the information. Rather, the system will itself take care of the information flow. The vendor's system will automatically monitor the position of inventory. Market will be automatically connected to the supplier as well as to the manufacturer. From that they will come to know that what is the product need, what is the changing faces of the customers, what are the next generation thinking about the products. Nowadays we all know that the social media is playing a very vital role. People are forming opinion, people are providing their insights about the product. So informations are everywhere. Fortunately, we also have the advanced concepts like cloud of things, where everything is getting connected through cloud. So information is available in abundant quantity. So business intelligence or collaborative system is very important. So integration is the second aspect of modern generation supply chain. It is not only the channel partners, every corner of the supply chain must be integrated, must be connected through information, by information. And third thing is intelligence. How you analyze the information, how you capture the data, how you get useful inferences out of data, that will be the competitive differentiator of tomorrow. So here lies the importance of data analytics. So that's why the data analytics is playing a very pivotal role in managing next generation supply chain. As I said, this is something like a cloud of things where suppliers, warehouse, manufacturing, logistic, entire channel partners are connected through cloud. So data availability is not an issue. The issue is how do you capture the data, how do you analyze the data with those availability of those big data, how do you interpret the data to understand the voice of the customer, to understand the need of your channel partners, and at the same time to integrate every part of the supply chain. Often as the days, these competitions are now getting stiffer and stiffer. With these kind of smart supply chain operations, over the years, the strategists felt the importance of the later part of the supply chain, that is the downstream part of the supply chain, that is retail. Retail has become a more important area to look upon for effectively managing your supply chain. Now the question is, why retail is so important in this regard? First, by virtue of its position, it acts like a linkage between customer and the other part of the supply chain. So it directly interacts with the customer, it directly provides the services to the customer, and at the same time it understands the voice of the customer, translates into the requirement for formulating the strategy. So retail has become a very important area to analyze, and the generation of data is humongous in the area of retail management. Few areas where the researches are now going on and people are trying to optimize few areas in order to get full benefit out of managing the retail part. Few areas like market basket analytics. If you have to be very careful in providing the product basket to the customers. You have to be very careful in deciding upon what would be the optimal mix, what would be the augmented product that should be provided with the main product. So dynamic market basket analysis, text analytics, it talks about the understanding, it talks about how you understand the sentiments of the customers, how you understand the opinion of the customers, because some opinions may get viral, some opinions may form the opinion, somebody's opinion may form the opinion of few billion people. There are few recent evidences are there, Nestle or other evidences are also there, where we witnessed that one single opinion can be viral informing the others' opinions. So text analysis is important. Then customer segmentation. As customers are now getting different from each other in form of opinion, in the form of their personal choices in the form of their customized needs. So customer segmentation and clustering is very important area. Then tailored product assortments. How do you manage your stock keeping units? How do you provide, how do you design your warehouse? How do you inform the customer about the available products, about the similar kind of products, about the offers are being there with a particular product, about the availability of the product for providing the convenience, at the same time for providing the useful information about the product, and at the same time it acts like a useful branding for the product. So it's a kind of building up relationship with the customers, it's a kind of educating the customer about your product, it's a kind of taking their opinion about your product, and in a sense you can understand the needs of the demand. At the same time you can formulate a suitable strategy. Inventory forecasting, those days earlier it used to be based on some time series data, historical data. People used to analyze the random component, people used to analyze the seasonal component, and people used to form either fixed quantity inventory management system or fixed period inventory management system or some probabilistic inventory management system. But nowadays it is so dynamic in nature, unless and until you manage even a subjective data all the time, you cannot manage your inventory. As a matter of fact, forecasting is indeed a very difficult task today, with thanks to, or fortunately or unfortunately, with the availability of such data. And another important aspect is collaborative filtering. Let us now see what is the collaborative filtering. Most often we are now in the age of digital marketing. We prefer the modern generation customers prefer to shop online. Now when we are basically purchasing product online, we are shopping online, then it is an obvious question from a customer that if I purchase this kind of product, then what next? What are the similar kind of products? So people expect some sort of comparison. People expect that some information about the similar kind of product, so that they can compare, they can understand about the requirement of the inside of the product, and at the same time they make a useful decision. So strategic decision or informed decision is no longer the property or the issue for the suppliers or manufacturers. It is also the requirement of the customers. So for that, this is a wonderful tool, the collaborative filtering or content filtering is another tool, where automatically this predictive analytics software that generates, once you purchase, once you order for one product, the predictive model generates the similar kind of product. They retrieve the information from the database, they compare with your existing product which we are intending to buy or which you have purchased already, and they promote the product to you, so that you can understand, if I purchase this product, then what next? What is the advanced one? What are the other products that you need to purchase? For example, this is the snapshot of my Amazon's cart, which I have taken. I have purchased one book on latest technology, latest analytics, GTs R. So once I purchase one book on R analytics, the database of Amazon, the predictive software already predicts me that if you purchase this book, you can opt for this book. So it is creating some sort of interest among the customers to go through those alternative products, to get insights out of that, and finally you select a careful one, or you may purchase some of the different things. As a forward-looking and learning institution, Calcutta Business School is always very keen to pursue their researches apart from the academic parts in the recent areas in collaboration with our esteemed industry partners. And at the same time, we are often organizing some of the innovative workshops, MDPs or FDPs, to share the information, to exchange the knowledge, and at the same time to understand what is the need of the day, where the research can be pursued. Because no institution, whatever, unless and until it is aligned to the market need, can survive in the market, and at the same time the students must qualify the degree with the available information, with the available trends in the market. We are organizing one such MDP on data analytics in supply chain and retail operations that is going to be held on 4th and 5th March 2016 at Calcutta Business School. The objective of such program is to provide a platform for the researchers and the academicians and the industry practitioners who are practicing supply chain managers to understand the developments in the area of supply chain and retail, how the data is being generated, it is being captured, and how you can analyze those data to get some useful information so that you can formulate a suitable supply chain strategy for your organizations. The program content consists of some of the relevant topics like big data analytics. What is big data? How do you analyze the big data? What are the ways you can capture, you manage, you analyze big data and get useful information? Then contemporary practices in the supply chain management. What are the contemporary practices? What is the value of information in the context of supply chain? How do you manage information? How do you use information technology for managing your supply chain? Then how do you be predictive in modeling the demand, in understanding the demand, in predicting the demand? Then how you use the cloud of things or internet of things in managing your channel, in managing your entire value chain. Then what are the risks involved in supply chain? We often talk of information, we often talk of the value information, but what are the risks? How do you mitigate those risks? How do you capture those risks? Then what are the next generation retail management, retail operation issues? How do you combat those issues? And the use of analytics in retail operations like advanced customer analytics. Here we can cover the sentiment analytics, test analytics, opinion building, scenario building, how do you manage the opinions, then dynamic market basket, how you form assortment planning, how you can perform the market basket analysis and how dynamic it is in nature, and then how do you set the price, because that is another important aspect. How do you set the price for it? What would be the suitable price for your product group? And then how do you promote the product to the customers? How do you let the customers know about product? So that's it for today. This is short or brief overview about the recent developments in supply chain management and the role of analytics in formulating the strategy. If you have any queries regarding this topic or regarding this MDP, which is upcoming, you may mail us at sanjibb@calcuttabusinessschool.org or joydip@calcuttabusinessschool.org. Thank you for patience listening.